All right, folks, welcome to Batman Day. A little unorthodox, but Vex is in the house. We're going to talk some Batman. So, you had said that you had read Court of Owls, and you were down the rabbit hole. And I said, "Listen, you want to go? You want to relate to someone like me? You want to go? Let's go to the baseline. Let's go to the foundation." I said, "Go to Frank Miller's Batman Year One." Sent you the link to a way to be able to at least get it perused digitally. But I wanted your thoughts on Court of Owls, and did it open the can of worms to you wanting to read more Batman, or kind of where? How did this even how did we end up down this rabbit hole to reading Batman of all things?
All right, so I've read a handful of comics in my life. I'm not a big comic reader, right? I own 4 comics. There you go.
There you go.
But Cannoli Sasquatch, our dear friend, he's very deep down the rabbit hole of comic books recently, and he gets a lot of instruction from you, which he will share with us in our MMM chat, right? Um, And we had summer camps running at work, right? And part of the summer camp program was that I take the kids to the library, which is next door to our building, and they just pick out a book and we read for an hour. And so I didn't know I had to take the kids to the library that day, so I didn't bring my own book that I was reading from home. So I was walking to the kids area and I noticed, oh, there's this huge section of graphic novels. Okay, I'll take a look at them. And then the Court of Owls one popped out to me because I remember a couple months back Cannoli saying, like, this is one of the best Batman storylines out there. Like, I can't believe they didn't adapt it into a movie. So that popped into my head as soon as I saw it. I'm just like, okay, I've got an hour, I'll read it. I think it took me like 3 pages to get sucked into it completely. Like, I'm not adverse to that kind of storytelling. It's just not something I've drifted towards because I didn't grow up around comic books. I wasn't exposed to them a lot as a kid, so it just was never my go-to. And I wasn't a picture book kid as well. Um, so I absolutely loved it. The Court of Owls one, the first one. I thought the the way it was building up all of the characters, the way that it was laying a foundation. I really liked the way that, because my exposure to Batman and Bruce Wayne has been purely through film and cinema, right? Otherwise. So I very much enjoyed the angle that they took with Bruce Wayne, how, because I find in movies especially, they just kind of, he's just a playboy that is Batman, but we get exposure to him as Batman instead. And that's how the character is built up, as opposed to, oh, there's an actual dude behind that mask who has a life and has thoughts and has, things that he has commitments to outside of saving the city. So I enjoyed that they explored him as an actual person, and that it's just like there was this kind of like dichotomy of how he struggles to separate the two, even in his day to day life. Because what he went to a gala and he meets oh my god, I can't remember his name, but he meets the guy that's running for mayor there, and it dives into like, oh, how can I, now that I'm learning from my enemy, how can I as Bruce Wayne run for mayor, and how can I make the city better that will benefit not just the people of Gotham, but me as Batman, because he was planning to build all of these underground bat caves with this new city revamping that he was doing. So I liked that. I liked the Court of Owls angle in the first one, right? Because they set up the Court of Owls as like this it's kind of like a, oh god, it's the conspiracy theory angle, right? Of
Yeah,
how there's like
yeah.
there's
A
just a small
mysterious
group of people.
organization with the history and roots and everything that dates back for decades, right?
Exactly, right? And they've got they have this nice horror element in there. So like when we see them, they're all just kind of like gangly and decrepit, and they've got these creepy barn owl masks and everything. So I liked that angle as well. So it's just like, okay, I'm really excited to read City of Owls, which is the next one. And I start reading City of Owls. I'm just like, what the fuck is this? It just, you had such a tight direction through that first one. You were setting it up so nicely. And then it just kind of devolves into all of these random storylines. So there was one section of that issue where it's just completely dedicated to Dr. Freeze and his wife. And now it's not really his wife in there. He just kind of went crazy and got attached to this woman that had basically been frozen in the 20s. And he started seeing it. And I'm just like, what is okay, you told me that the Dr. Freeze tech is what allows the Court of Owls individuals to last over many years and all that stuff and preserve them. but why are you dedicating so much time to why Mr. Freeze is crazy when this doesn't even tie into the following arc that you go through? Um, then there was like it just Bruce Wayne goes down a really interesting rabbit hole in the beginning of that where it's like it's he's stuck in the maze of the Court of Owls, and he's having this like confrontation of like, here are the fears that shaped me, what happened to my parents, what are my actual ancestors, because he learns that his great grandfather, I think, Alan Wayne.
Mhm.
He learned that Alan Wayne died down in those sewers because of the owls. So it started off well, and then it just so I know there's a third one, but I'm not really interested in reading the third one because the second one kind of ended off
Yeah,
disappointing.
yeah, I think that's the New 52 for you. That the New 52 was this relaunch that DC did, and I think Court of Owls is the one thing that is very interesting. It adds a lot of mythology to the
Yeah.
Batman and the Gotham lore. It did some interesting things moving forward, but then as Scott Snyder and others were trying to unpack this story moving on, it just derails into just gobbledygook
Fell
and word
flat.
salad and just don't have any interest. And I think New 52 is one of those things where it's sort of a sore topic for me. I know many other fans would agree with me that it's very clear they didn't really have much of a plan. It's kind of like they had maybe outlines for how to start, but they didn't really have anything laid out for 12 months, 16 months, 2, 3 years, whatever it was going to be.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying they had that all along or anything like that, but it felt like whatever the Bible was, what the rules were going to be, it derails a lot in New 52. Now, I know you read Batman. My bigger issue with like New 52, and you'll see where I'm going with this, is if you were to read New 52 Superman Action Comics, which is a Superman title, and Justice League, those
Hmm.
are three completely different Supermen. They don't resemble each other at all. They look a little bit alike, but they also don't look alike and they don't behave alike. So again, no plan, no cohesiveness. So the Batman and Justice League isn't aligning with my Batman in my Batman title and really isn't aligning with my Batman in my Detective Comics, which is his other big name brand. So I'm like, okay, I don't. So I think when you look at the New 52 as a whole,
Hmm.
a lot of times you have to go, well, this story is worth reading. That story is not bad. This one's not bad. And I hate that it's like that, but that's how I feel about that era. And I was happy to
Gotcha.
see that you were able to find something that you did enjoy. Um, uh, and these are stories. You read graphic novels. So the first one was like issues like 1 through 6 or 1 through 8. I think it's 1 through 6, and then the next one is X number of issues. And that's why it's like maybe you had a good outline. And they didn't really have a plan, and the outline wasn't tightened up in time, or the editing wasn't there, and that's why.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we see. It should have been where the Batman was going. So there's another
That's what
famous
I was
story.
expecting. That's
I
it
know. Yeah, it
felt like it
should have
was
been
going. Yeah.
100%. So it should have tied into two things. So another one that you could write down or look for is called Hush. So it actually happened quite a while ago. Hush is a great story. And there's a name drop in the Batman. So I'll have you read Hush then and then rewatch Batman, and then you'll really see where I'm going with this. So there's a
Hmm.
name drop in the Batman, which points to Hush. And I'm like, okay. So the third act of the Batman, the movie
Hmm.
derails into a complete mess. I
Yes.
I have my issues with the Batman. I think the Batman is not a good movie, but it's not a horrible movie for 2/3 to 3/4. It's just the final act is my problem. And all they had to do was have the Riddler character, this Riddler character, point to, you don't think I'm actually in control, right? You're dumber than we even thought you were. And then you
Hmm.
have this Hush character is the one that's really pulling the strings, with this Court of Owls thing being this backdrop to what's actually controlling even behind that scene, like this layers for movie 2 versus movie 3.
Yeah.
And the fact that they pull up short and they turn him into a Batman version of like Superman, like the Batman's in the daylight, Batman's, it was just terrible. So Hush would be one that I would recommend as well, that fits into this sort of era of Batman. It fits into this sort of theme of things. I think if you took the Court of Owls and the Hush story with what they were going with Robert Pattinson, it could work.
Gotcha.
But I recommended Year One because prior to Year One,
Hmm.
uh, Frank Miller took on Batman. Now, Frank Miller is a famous comic book writer. Um, I found him after the Batman movie in 1989 dropped. I had some friends that had some graphic novels. and I was down the rabbit hole. Like, holy crap, this isn't for children. Because I had comics when I was a kid, right? But
Mhm.
this is amazing literature. This is crazy good. Like, it was page turning for me, right?
Okay.
And then I was down. Oh, so Frank Miller did this. Frank Miller did this. So he happened to do year one. Year one is sort of that new origin story, which you've seen in movies. You've seen adaptations of this, and it's very grounded, like street crime. Like it's like it feels like a regular guy story, right? And he and Gordon are really central. And then the comics that follow that uh, all feel like we're in the same universe. We never feel like out of the blue we're talking about Mr. Freeze. It doesn't make sense, and we create contradictions to what we've been
Mhm.
doing 2
Yep.
issues prior. So that's my big argument with new comics. Is like new comics. I'm like, this doesn't even feel like the character that you guys were talking about like 4 months ago. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand. I can't
Yeah.
I can't pick up this book and read this one. Two different characters. Like, I don't understand. What are we doing? When I was into this, and I was down the rabbit hole because everything led into everything else. I was literally airdropped into this universe, and I kind of expanded outward from that year one. I'd gone back a little bit, and then I read, and back then there were no graphic novels. I had to go find these books, and it was not,
Yeah.
there's no online. You had
Mhm.
advertisements in other comic books, so it was hard to find books. But what I found was it was like a rabbit hole of it was just more stories, more adventures, and a lot more standalone comics. Like, it was issue 430. You just read it. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you could get this next issue, and it was just a beginning, middle, and an end. And then it would be like 2 issues with a Joker story, or 2 issues with a Riddler story, or it would
Mhm.
and that's how it worked. And then there would be um, a big story arc every so often. About once a year or so, there'd be like Death in the Family, or there'd be something really big that would keep sales, ginning up new interest for new people. And really, it was
Mhm.
just a very well marketed and planned time for comic books. So for me, when I talk about my Batman love, because again, for those of you who don't know, I collected Batman, and it's like about half of everything I collected, and everything else was half. That gives you how disproportionately
Goodness.
of a Batman reader I was, um, because I felt so immersed into. And he has so many villains. I mean, I
Mhm.
know in the movies they still cut this short with only focusing on a handful, but
Mhm.
in the comics you end up down just so many crazy stories. And there's one that's like I think you would just love, and I don't know how to get you. I don't know what graphic novel it's in, but it's like Detective 600. So I think it's 598 to 600. Anyway, someone tries to kill Bruce Wayne. So Bruce Wayne's in a wheelchair. He can't be Batman right now because he got shot. So it's like, what are the implications if someone targets Bruce Wayne? So there's all sorts of things like that that are just
Mhm.
like, and then of course the big story arcs, which I'm sure there's. I think if you look at the shelf that Canoli has now, you'll see the 3 volumes of Nightfall, where it's like a multi-year event where they had
Mhm.
planned out the destruction of Batman, where Bane figures out who he is and wears him down, and then breaks his back, and who can be Batman. And yeah, this is my rabbit hole of my world, and I can just
Mhm.
live in that issue 400 to issue 600 my whole life. I could just read and start over again. So
Mhm.
I don't have to get so bent out of shape over all of this random stuff that doesn't hold up, because exactly what you found is what I find. This piece
Mhm.
might be good, but then I can't recommend from there. So
Yeah.
because people have asked, and I did try to jump back in Batman here recently.
Mhm.
Chip Zdarsky came on as a writer, and for a couple issues, it was pretty good, and the art was amazing. They brought in Jorge Jimenez, does this amazing art. It was fantastic. He should be like Justice League art. It was fantastic. But then you got to the 4th issue, and it started to get dumb, and then the 5th issue was absolutely retarded. Like, it just was. It doesn't. It's dumb. Like, he's human. He can't be in
Mhm.
space and survive. There's just stupid decisions that they made, and they just say things very. It's the stuff that will make your head hurt, because it would be like, oh, I just had this thing in the air bubble over my suit, or it's just dumb. Like, no, it's Batman. He'd be dead. They can't do that. You know what I mean? It's like when I
I got
watched like the second Black Panther movie where she goes to space but her face isn't covered. You're like, she'd be dead. You can't.
you.
It's not how this works. Like, that kind of stupid.
Mhm.
So I end up like not even wanting to do videos. I just get ticked off. I'm in a mood. I'm not having fun. So yeah, but that's it.
Interesting.
This, yeah. But today is about Batman. So
I
Yeah.
didn't know there was a Batman Day coming up. Forgive me. I'm sorry. I'm not
Yeah.
deep into the superhero stuff. There you go.
No,
But
I know. I know.
no,
I know.
Batman has definitely it has tickled my interest, but I like more. I'm gonna check out year one.
Hmm.
I will eventually do that. And Cannoli,
Because then I'll
you
see
recommend
if you like year one and Miller's style, because he's
mhm,
different, right?
gotcha.
He writes I don't want to say street well, but it feels like it could happen. I guess is the best way to explain. Batman's always supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be able to believe there's a billionaire guy with all the gadgets and the trauma
Yeah.
and the PTSD, and he's in cahoots with the cops, so he has to go to jail and get caught. And people, oh, he got caught. Yeah, but he's in cahoots with Gordon. Gordon's going to be, there's a lot of tracks being covered up, right? Um,
Mhm,
so then if we flip it on its head and you do like that enough, you could continue to go down the Batman rabbit hole. Then I'll get you on Daredevil, because when you see Daredevil, that's the mirror equivalent in my world where Miller did Daredevil, and it's
mhm,
exactly the same. He like took a cheesy concept and made it street driven and criminal driven, made Kingpin a thing, made Bullseye a thing, all the things that the show, and obviously if you season one of Daredevil, it's freaking amazing.
it
That
was
is really what we
great.
want. Right.
Yes.
That's what Miller Daredevil is. It's like that type of crime and violence and drama and intrigue. And he'll have even issues with like crazy villains that don't even matter. But
Mhm,
it'll just be about the character having to deal with the drama in his real life and dealing with relationships. And uh, I'm as a kid, I don't think it would have related to me as much, because it would be written to me more as like a young adult and
mhm.
into later in life. But it's cool to see someone who doesn't know much about it go, oh, I was actually quite intrigued by this. I actually quite liked it. Yeah, it's good.
I can appreciate a good story and good characters no matter the medium. That's never been a hold up for me. It's just, yeah, some mediums just don't call to me the same as others, but that doesn't I'm not like I'm not turned off by them completely. There you go. So, Batman Court of Owls liked a lot. Batman Year 1 I'll check out. Long Halloween, I was told to check out that one as
Yes.
well.
Yeah, Dark Victory is the
Um
other one that goes with Long Halloween. You can just Long
Dark
Halloween and
Victory.
Dark Victory. This is Batman Dark. They're standalone, so they're not part of like the normal timeline. So
Mhm.
Long Halloween is a story. Just there's a killer and he's got to figure it out. It's like some of the best Batman as a detective, and
Mhm.
they did such a good job of having something that feels completely different. So it was really cool because they didn't want it to feel like Batman and Detective Comics. They wanted to feel like we're in a different thing because it's its own little universe type thing. So he did a really
Gotcha.
good job of bringing in a different artist who does cool different covers, and everything was just different.
Mhm.
And then Dark Victory is the other one that kind of that team did as well, standalone
Gotcha.
graphic novel. And
Okay.
it is cool too that you mentioned the library, because I think that. And the irony is, I'll be honest, I had lost a job in 2005, 2004, 2005, when my wife and I lost our jobs within a few months of one another. And I was writing reviews and doing stuff as a side hustle. I used to
Mhm.
have to go to the library and check out 4 or 5 graphic novels so I could continue doing the gig, because I didn't have any money to spend on comic books at the time. And I didn't want to
Mhm.
give it up. It took me too
Mhm.
long to get the gig. I didn't want to give it up. So I go to the and I remember it coming up one time. People were like, "What are you going to write about?" I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, because I got to go find whatever. I don't know what will be there. But that's
We'll
part of
see.
the
It'll
reason
be surprise us all. Yeah.
yeah, I was just like, oh, that looks interesting. Let's try that. Let's try this. And I
Mhm.
try to find different publishers and whatever. And that's how I found certain things during that
Mm.
time, because it was like, oh, I missed this. I don't remember seeing this. So yeah, cool. Yeah, it's good to go. I think it's also fun that you can find something that you can actually read quickly.
Mhm.
Like it's not like you said, an hour or so. I don't know if you got through the whole thing that quick, but you don't. It's not like writing you're reading a novel. It's going to take you hours to get through. These things can move very very fast.
You can read
So
it in an afternoon if you wanted to. Like, it took me I think it took me, like, 2-ish hours to read issues 1 through 5 of Court of Owls.
yeah, yeah,
That's all.
yeah.
Yeah. It
Very
didn't take
cool.
me long at all, and I did yeah, but the second City of Owls took me a bit longer because I was just like, "Where the hell is this going? I'm not
It's not really
interested in
going.
this."
Yes,
Yeah.
he was losing the script. It's okay.
Yeah.
You were not alone with your feelings. It only keeps getting worse at times. And there's times where, and then you'll find like, oh, this volume 4 is pretty good, or like, what I mean.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things where it's just New 52 is all over the map with stuff. So,
I gotcha. Yeah,
but
I the post I made on YouTube with the pictures, because I really liked the artwork in City of Owls. But yeah, a lot of the comics just like, I hate New 52. New 52 was like hit or everyone seems to have the same
Mhm.
general consensus, it's nice to see that fandoms can agree on things. That's all. I like when that happens. Yeah.
And there are, and again, there are some good things, but
Hmm.
again, it's like one of those, you have to be a curator. You have to curate, to
Yep.
not waste your time with the rest of, yeah, because that's what I would rather see some people do. It's like find this one or two stories and you keep moving and build someone who's finding things to enjoy, because like everything else, there's decades and decades of great stuff to
Hmm.
work on. So
Hmm.
I will definitely work with Vex to make sure she has good Batman stuff to enjoy out there. So I will gladly do the same for you. If you want some help knowing some good stories or things that you want to get into, let me know. But I hope you guys are enjoying a good Batman day, finding good things to enjoy, celebrating a character that gosh, he may actually hit public domain relatively soon. I think it's like 15 years or something like that. It's really crazy.
Oh,
I don't know how that will work, because I know I was still shocked by the whole Steamboat Willie thing, but all this stuff will start getting close to that public domain era. I don't know how they've redone copyrights. I think it'll probably
hmm,
just be this version of the Batman or this version of Superman will land public domain, but not this version. You know what I mean? That's probably
gotcha.
what will happen. But yeah, this is there's decades of stuff that's out there for folks to enjoy. So thanks for sharing such a good story with us. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
All right, folks. Well, you guys take care. Check out this lady's content, what she's been doing, and hope you have a wonderful day. Be blessed. Till next time, I am Pops.